Colin, I'll turn it over to you, and I'm excited to see this. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Dustin, for inviting me from Special iApps to do this Disability Cocoon Tech Huddle with you today. I'm broadcasting as we're in lockdown here in the UK. I'm from the converted garden room in our house here in Shincliffe, in northeast England, and I'm going to talk to you today about the apps that we've developed at Special iApps, particularly for children who have special needs and disabilities. I'll start with a short presentation and take you through some of the background of who we are and what we do. But I'll also be doing some live demoing about the apps, and if you have any questions, as Dustin says, please do raise them in the chat. So I'll start the presentation now. So we are, as Dustin said, Special iApps. Our website's at specialiapps.org. You can email us. You can find us on most social media as Special iApps. And let me just give you a little bit of background to us. So we started in 2011. We're based here in the United Kingdom, on the other side of the Atlantic from you. We're a non-profit social enterprise. And my wife, Bev, and I, who are the founders of Special iApps, our younger son, William, was born with Down syndrome and was later diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum as well. We have experience in education, IT, mobile, digital media. Back in 2011, were looking for good apps for our son, William, and found that we couldn't really find what we wanted. So we started developing our own. We write our own apps. We offer support and training, and we don't have any adverts or tracking in our apps. You don't need to be online to use them because we wouldn't want those for our own son, William. And you can find our apps on the Apple App Store, on Google Play, and on the Amazon App Store. So this is us. On the left-hand side is our family, my wife, Bev, and I, our elder son, Joe, who's now a medical student, and our youngest son, William. And here in the UK, the Queen awards medals to people every now and then. Bev was very pleasantly surprised to find that she is a recipient of the MBE medal from the British Queen. Also part of our team, so that's Bev. I'm Dr. Colin Dean. I'm a Chief Technology Officer. William does testing for us and he demonstrates our apps, and Joe has recorded his own voice as one of the voices in our apps, and he helps us with student volunteers and so on. To complete the team, to complete the management team, we have Neil, and then we have Kirsty, who's our main app and web developer, and Rebecca, who looks after our digital and social side. Now, our apps, to our amazement, are being used all around the world, and all the countries that you can see any shade of blue on here are countries where our apps have been downloaded, and we've been approached by volunteers from all around the world who asked if they could have our apps in their language, and with their help, we have been able to translate our apps into more than 25 languages. Our apps are used at home, in kindergarten, in school, a lot by speech therapists, and they're helping children and adults with a wide range of special educational needs. We have quite a few case studies which you can see on our website, and just one of them I was just going to briefly show you some results from. This was a case study investigation carried out by our local council here, which would be equivalent to, I guess, a school district in the US. A study with children in mainstream but who had special needs over a 12-week period using our special words app, which I will show you shortly. But I just wanted to present some of the results ahead of that to show that, for instance, child H on this chart, if you can see that, was at the time 5 years old. She's a little girl with Down syndrome, and using our special words app for just 10 or 15 minutes a day with her teacher, 3 or 4 times a week, she was actually able to build her sight vocabulary, the number of words that she recognized, from 5 to 96 in just a 12-week period, which is pretty good progress. And so our apps are available for iPad and iPhone, for Android tablets and phones, for Chromebooks, and we support a wide range of peripherals so that kids, for instance, with cerebral palsy who may be using a switch to access device rather than being able to operate a touch screen directly. Many of our apps are switch enabled. You can also use them with mice and with keyboards. And just 3 quotes from people who've contacted us over the last few years about our apps. This is the first one was a teacher in a special school for children with autism who said, without doubt, the best app she'd come across for children with special needs. There's a review from Bridging Apps, this in fact of our Numbers app. And an email I had from a teacher in Ireland who said to me that our Special Stories app had transformed the life of a little girl that she works with in her ASD class. So I want to start by looking at our apps for literacy. I've shown them on this chart with the blue arrows between them to emphasize the point that you can transfer and share content between our apps. We encourage people to personalize our apps with their own content. Children learn particularly well if they have personal content to work with. And having created content in one of our apps, you can then share it with the others as the child develops and as you progress through the learning process. So I'm going to start with our Special Words app. And this aims to target communication, language and literacy skills, increasing the child's sight word vocabulary, as I showed you on that graph of the little girl who learnt 96 words in 12 weeks, encouraging listening and speaking skills, and also to help develop hand-eye coordination and fine motor skills. And all the studies we've done have shown kids progressing in all those different areas. But the key point about this and many of our apps is that you can personalize them with your own content. You can adjust the level of the activities to different abilities and developmental stages. And in fact, the Special Words app, we have 3 editions. There's a standard edition, a professional edition, but also you can sign up for a 28-day free trial on our website at specialiapps.org using our web edition, which doesn't offer you personalization, but allows you to run the activities as they would be in a standard setup to see if they suit the child or children that you're working with before actually purchasing either of the standard or professional edition of the app. So what I'll do next, I'll switch to Special Words and we can have a look at it. So in Special Words, if you can see along the tab bar at the bottom, there's a choice of 6 different activities, and there's also an item for word list there. And in the first activity, which is just matching pictures, all we're asking the child to do is to match the picture in the middle to the one that's the same around the perimeter. And they can do that either by dragging it, or in fact, they can just tap the one that matches. So if I tap, you can't see my finger on here, but if I tap the doll in the bottom left corner, it matches that for me. Now, we don't like to have what we call negative rewards in our apps, distractions where if the child gets something wrong, they might even get effectively a bigger reward than if they get something right. So if I place the car on top of the ball, intentionally nothing happens. Also, we know that many of these children cannot reliably drag, perhaps because of their fine motor skills or the hand-eye coordination, They might let go while moving it. We don't want the app to be fighting them by perhaps trying to move the object back as if on an invisible elastic band. And we don't expect a child to be able to position something to the nearest millimetre. So as long as you overlap the card slightly, it'll understand. Now, if I take you to the word list, we supply 96 words as standard in the app, a large number of nouns of everyday objects, verbs of common actions, and a few other words like big and little and up and down and so on. You can add to this list, you can modify this list. So for instance, if your child was a bit cheeky and said to you, my car is blue, not green, then if we just tap the eye to the right of the car, we could actually take a picture of our own car to replace that one with, and we could record the sound ourselves. Now we would go on from matching pictures to matching words. And for the youngest children who are only just starting to grapple with written words, you have to kind of imagine that looking at this is like looking at Egyptian Sanskrit. The child in the first instance doesn't know what they're looking for or what they're trying to discriminate. These blobs, we instantly recognize the whole word and the letters in them, but when a child's first learning to read words, they don't. And in fact, if you look, the ball and the book actually look quite similar to each other. And all we're trying to do at this stage is get the child to discriminate and match. And what we're finding with all these activities that actually the information is soaking in quite rapidly of the association of the picture and the sound and the text. And it's for this reason that this learning technique allows children to pick up words very, very quickly. And so on. Now, I'll just interrupt to show you a little video of the app in use. I haven't got any sound on that, excuse me, I'm going to have to stop that share and restart it. Right, we can hear it then. Right, let's start that again. Sorry about that. Let me just start that video again.
Excellent. Вниз. Есть? Велосипед. Велосипед. Качели. Качели.
Now, I recorded that video in Kiev in Ukraine a couple of years ago when I visited a Down syndrome group there. Max at the time was only 3 years old. He'd never seen the app before. But you can see that within a few moments of using it, he picked up what to do and was happily enjoying using it. So let's go back to the presentation. So I'll just go back to special words again and I'll show you how easy it is to add content. So if we go to our list of words, I could easily add a word. At the top, you can see there's a plus button in the center. If I just tap that, I could choose a picture from my library. A picture of myself, for instance. I could label that as Dad. I can record the sound, Dad, Dad, and save it. And now Dad is in the activity.
Book.
So for teachers and speech therapists and so on, it's a very quick and easy way of creating and adding resources without having to resort to paper and printer and laminators and so on.
Book. And
kids learn particularly well, as I've mentioned, with their own personal content. Dad, Dad. And if a child has a particular interest, you might have a child who's preoccupied with dinosaurs. There's no reason why you can't start by working with dinosaurs and then steer them towards other things later. And in fact, if I have a list of words in here already, which is a list of the members of our house, so I can do it like this.
Yeah.
That's William saying his own name.
Yeah. Joseph.
That's his big brother.
Joseph. Dad. Dad. Mum.
And so on. And the other thing that I want to show you in this app, and it's true in most of our apps, is the wide range of settings so that you can adapt the apps to the ability of the child. You can choose when and where sound is used. You could use a different font. Some of the children we find, particularly the children on the spectrum, can actually remember the order of the cards on different pages as they have a fairly photographic memory. So to circumvent that, you can actually set it to shuffle the cards on each page so that they're not always in the same physical position. And you don't necessarily have to have 4 cards per page if you're working with a little child who perhaps can only manage a choice of 2 things, then we can do it like that.
Mum.
And now we only have 2 cards per page.
Mum.
Dad. Okay. So that's special words. Next, I'm going to show you special stories. And I'll show you a little story, actually, which is our son William's story. So before William was born, we knew he had Down syndrome. We had scans to check his heart and discovered that he had duodenal atresia, which means his small intestine is blocked. And here he is shortly after he was born. And because his intestine was blocked, he critically would need surgery within hours of being born. So that's just after he was born. This is the following day where he's actually had to undergo major surgery. And here's his brother Joe, who, as I say, is now a medical student, but at the time was only 5, reading William's stories and talking to him. And William needed more surgery, and he spent another 2 weeks in hospital there. That tube is a nasogastric tube feeding him. And he ended up spending 2 more months in the hospital. And then he started having epileptic seizures, and these are the electrodes on his head measuring and determining that. But we soon got him out of hospital, and he soon picked up, and he was always very happy, and still is. Here he and Joe are swimming underwater. We've even taken him skiing, where really that means sort of one person holds him at the top of the slope, lets him go on his skis, and then someone at the bottom catches him. But he likes dressing up as medieval knights. He's had a go at rock climbing. He likes playing on the beach. This is him going around with us on the London Eye, big wheel. He's been on the radio. He's got a trike that he likes riding. and he is in mainstream school at age 14. And yeah, his mum got a medal for work that we do. And so thanks to William, we are helping children all over the world. And this is just an example of the sort of stories that you can create in Special Stories. We use it a lot for homeschool communication. William takes his iPad to school every day, and each day we get, from his teachers, we get a story back as to what he's been doing. So this is an example from when he was at primary or elementary school, showing some of the things he was doing on that day. Because he can't tell us what he did at school, but he can operate the iPad very easily, and he can show us. And we also support, in the latest versions of Special Stories, text-to-speech. So if you have a story like I had there, which hasn't got any audio in it, then you can get it to speak the audio for you, or alternatively, you can record the audio with it. And as I said, one of the things you can do with the apps is transfer content between them. So if I go back to Special Words, I go to my word list, I go to sharing, I could export a list of words like who lives at our house, and I could copy it from Special Words to Special Stories. And then when I opened up in Special Stories, I can add it. I can add a new story. And the result of that is
Mum.
that I've actually transferred my word cards, card by card, as page by page, as a story.
Dad. Joseph. Yeah.
Into Special Stories. And then once I've got it in there, I could actually embellish it a bit. So I could actually make it so that it says my name is William, for instance. And so go on to start building sentences rather than working with single words. Let's move on and kind of rush our way through just a few more apps. You can find out about many more of them on our website. Special Spelling is another of our literacy apps, where, having learned to recognize whole words, you can then go on to spell them. And there are various options, including having distraction letters.
F. Flower.
And in fact, there are a whole range of different activities in here with using the same set of words that are available in Special Words. But again, you can add your own. And in fact, during this COVID-19 period, we've made a number of extra resources available for free to users of our apps. So that if you have our Special Words app, you can go into Special Words and you can download some extra lists of words from Special iApps. I just need to activate this. I'll go into the other copy of the app that is already activated. Import word list, download from Special iApps. And there's a new collection here called Learning at Home COVID-19, which we put out specially for this, the current situation, where there are many more lists of words that you can then download into the app and use. So this is my seaside list of words.
Beach. Beach.
And in this case, I'm using the text-to-speech built into the app.
Fish.
But you could re-record the audio if you wanted to.
Fish.
Yourself. And then you could transfer
Bucket and space.
Transfer that to Special Words or Special Stories. Okay. I'm just going to go back to the presentation briefly. So I've quickly shown you Special Words and Special Stories, which we use for step-by-step tasks, social stories, homeschool communication, teaching all sorts of skills. And we've had a very quick look at Special Spelling. And like all of our apps, you know, you can personalize it to suit different abilities. You can put your own text, audio, and photos in. You can create tailored content to meet the needs of the child or the curriculum stage that they're working on. And as we're fairly short on time, I won't go on to actually demonstrate special sentences, but we have a sentences app whereby having learnt words and being able to spell them, and having perhaps explored the sentences a little in special stories, you can then go on to use special sentences to actually construct sentences word by word for yourself, with a, and gain an understanding of sentence structure, grammar and punctuation, as well as other skills. And those are all literacy apps. Just to mention, we have a couple of apps for numeracy and memory, special numbers, which is about developing early number skills with a range of different activities, learning to count, to match, to order, to compare, with an adjustable range of numbers, so that if your child is working with 1 to 5, that's fine. If they're counting on from 10 to 20, then we can do it like that, and a choice of different objects to work with, and very configurable and so on. And match and find, which is a memory and matching activity. So for instance, in the screen we have here, the task is to find the 2 objects that are the same, but also there are activities in there that will hide the objects, so that you have to remember where they are or remember the sequence they were in. And a lot of children with special needs have limitations to their working memory, but you can train and improve working memory just by using it. So it's proved to be a very useful tool for that. If you're an Apple device user, you can actually pick up 4 of our apps as a bundle, which we call Special Collection on the App Store, which will save you anything between 20–25%, depending on the country, on the cost of buying each one individually. You can find that on the App Store. Unfortunately, that's not available for Android. I just wanted to mention that if you're buying apps for schools, and you want an app on several devices, you probably know this, but you must buy multiple licenses. But certainly with Apple, if you buy 20 licenses of a single app, you get a 50% discount. And there are lots of tools available to help you manage the deployment of our apps and anybody else's apps onto your devices in a school. Although you can't purchase app bundles for a school. And my recommendation, if you're not too familiar with this, is to find a good business partner to help you. But there's also information on Apple and Google's websites. Finally, just to remind you, you can contact us via email, by filling in a form on our website or on social media. We're always very happy to receive questions and suggestions for improvement. A lot of the features and functionality in our apps are there because parents or teachers said it would be good if it could do this as well, or that instead. So we do try to be very responsive to what people are looking for.
That was, Colin, that was great. I'd seen it before, but sitting down and having the time to devote to actually see the whole thing was great. Somebody had a comment in here that I love how somebody had a comment, love how they can be used for communicating between school and home. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, because you can transfer the content either device to device wirelessly. You can transfer content as email attachments, if it's not possible to put the school and the home device on the same network or whatever, and so on. So there are many, many ways of sharing, and it's all in control of the user. We don't have a server ourselves that's storing all your stuff. We don't put stuff in anybody's cloud automatically. You can if you want to, but in particular when you're working with vulnerable children, we don't think it's appropriate for it just all to be uploaded to a server somewhere necessarily. So, but you can share however you like.
And then the pricing structure, the other question we had was, is it a one-time cost or is there a monthly subscription?
At the moment, it's a one-time cost. And so the base price for most of the apps is $19.95, $19.99 rather. We are looking at alternative subscription options now. Different people have different preferences. Some people would like to just pay a little bit at a time. And as I say, with the Special Words app, if you want to try before you buy and don't want to commit to spending any money until you're sure it's useful for you, then just sign up for the Special Words web demo on our website, and you can use it for 28 days. The activities look the same as here. And then if you like it, and if your kid likes it and you think they're going to learn from it, then you're not going to be wasting your money when you buy it.
It's wonderful. And how long have you guys been doing this?
We have been doing it since 2011 now. Yeah.
Wow. That says a lot, because, you know, a lot of the apps that are out there, especially the ones that are the one-time purchase, you buy it, and then as Apple updates things, the app starts breaking, and you guys have been around long enough that people have some assurance that you're going to be there to support changes as needed. So that's great.
Absolutely, and we've we updated all our apps for iOS 13, and once 14 comes out, we'll figure out what we need to do that as well. And we still support as far back as iOS 8. So if you have an old an old iPad 2 or something like that, then it would perfectly happily run our apps. It won't be sluggish. It won't have any problems.
Great. Anybody else out there that has questions, throw them in. Right now is your chance to get your questions in for Colin. Colin, do you have any research studies that have been done on this, or kind of other documentation like that I can share out in addition with this recording?
Yes, probably the simplest thing is if I just open our website for you.
Okay.
Bear with me a second. If I just share my screen again. Okay, if you can see that's our website there, and you can, for instance, if I can find the right tab, under About Us, under Real Stories, there are a number of different case studies and so on that have been done on our apps that you can see the results of there. I would also mention that for all of our apps, because there's a lot tucked behind the scenes in our apps, we want to see something very simple and straightforward, but there are a lot of settings and preferences and so on behind, that actually if you're stuck or you're not quite sure what it might be possible to do in one of our apps, then there are user guides on our website, and they explain all the settings and so on, what they mean and what they do and how you can best use them. So there's a wealth of information about that as well.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know that it's a little later for you, but thank you. I'm glad to have you guys on here, and thank you for participating in the apps workshop that we did a month and a half or so ago with Bridging Apps. So
our pleasure. We're happy to.
Great to get to know you guys, and you downplay the medal that you got from the Queen, but that's very prestigious. So congratulations.
Yeah, that is very prestigious. Some people ask me if I'm jealous of the fact that my wife has an MBE, but I've got a PhD, so we've each got 3 letters.
Well, if I don't see any other questions, so thank you, Colin, and thank you all for attending. And Colin, just as a reminder, this will be recorded. So if you're watching this recording, you can just scroll back to go get their website and contact information. He displayed it on the screen. For those of you that are on, I did put a link to their site in the chat. So thank you all. Hope everybody stays safe. And we will hopefully talk to you next week on the next Tech Huddle. Thanks again, Colin.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.